All right, welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross podcast as we talk all things Budds Creek Pro Motocross and preview SMX with the great man Jeff Beaver from Whiskey Throttle Media. Obviously, firstly, thank you to everyone for listening and supporting the website and these podcasts. It's greatly appreciated. We'd also like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Firepower, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkleen for all their incredible support, as without them, none would be possible. All right, welcome, Jeff. How's life? And thanks for joining us after Buds, mate. Another great weekend, pumping out the content. Plenty of drama to go on, wasn't there?
Yeah, life was good. I'm hanging over here on the East Coast. I got to go out of the country on Thursday, so I didn't want to fly back to the West Coast just to turn around 3 days later and come back to the East Coast. So, hanging out in Washington, D.C. If you guys are ever going to come to Washington, D.C., now's the time. National Guard's running around, crime is down. You can walk around and not worry about getting robbed by a bunch of little shit stains who have been entitled and think the world owes them something. There's plenty of guys out there walking around in army uniforms, ready to kick the living shit out of you if you act out of turn. So I've been saying hi to all of them and thanking them, and it's kind of nice walking down the National Mall and go, "Hey, I'm not going to get robbed. This is sweet," you know. So I'm just out here chilling. Going to go to New York tomorrow for a couple more days just to change it up a little bit, and then go to the DR for a couple days and about a week and work, and then off to SMX, man. So I don't even get home until after the first round, dude.
It's a crazy schedule. I reckon there'd be a brave man there trying to rob you, mate, because it'd come back with interest, I reckon.
Yeah, I guess, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the SMX rounds. But yeah, the last round of Buds was pretty interesting, bud.
Yeah, mate, there was a lot going on. Obviously, you guys had crew at Big Bear GP as well as Buds, mate. So you definitely Whiskey Throttles holding it down. The content as well. You had a filmer at the MXGP, Dimmy as well, mate. So the content's been all across the world, all happening, mate. But yeah, on the Buds, it was certainly a cracking round. How was it from your perspective? Obviously, the track, the WMX, the racing was excellent. There was drama, penalties, a bit of chit chat, bit of Deegan, bit of Jet Lawrence. There's so much going on, mate. You can sort of pick out what you want to start with there.
Yeah, we just kind of global domination. That's our goal, you know. Just everybody else can get the hell out of the way. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll talk about the Big Bear GP real quick, man. Everybody loved that event, dude. If you're a Grand Prix rider in America, or if you're over in Australia and you want to come over here and do some off-road riding, that Big Bear GP's awesome. You can fly into LA, you'll be in Big Bear in a little over an hour. You can rent a bike from Club Local and
Yeah.
from Ben Griffith and those guys, rent a bike and go out there and beat the crap out of Ben's equipment and give him back a roached out pile of shit. It'll be great. He'll love it. You know, he'll probably charge you extra too. But the Aaron Cook put on a hell of an event. It was slammed. We sold out all our gear. You know, it was sick. Poor Metzger kind of weeded up his ankle in the e-bike race. Didn't get to race the GP. Bo went out for a couple laps. It was like, oh, this is insane. I'm not doing it. Talon got a dead engine started and couldn't get the bike started, and started it like he was in a different county by the time he got the thing started. You know, all the other riders were gone. You know, Smoothie, he couldn't get the Suzuki to start. So Whiskey Throttle, we were shining like a rusty penny, dude. We were dialed. Ping's over there limping around. We look like a bunch of convalescent old folks home, and a bunch of and two squirrely kids with us, dude. So Whiskey Throttle, we didn't own the GP, but we were all over that damn place, and it was a good time. So anybody wants to go, from what I heard, it was badass. We did a live Code Red show that'll be coming out. It was sick, but yeah, I went over to the East Coast and did Buds, and what was crazy, it was the best weather of the year, dude. That dude, it was so nice. Got a little warm, maybe the second motos, but all day. I mean, I showed up without a sweatshirt on that morning, and I was kind of freezing my ass off the first couple hours of the day. It was nice and cool, and there was a good breeze. But yeah, the track was epic. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting was how squirrely the start was, dude. If you watched all the qualifying in the second qualifying section when the guys were practicing starts, dude, it was like they were riding on snot, dude. They were coming out and just shooting left and right. It was insane. In fact, we posted Posty. I think Posty shot the video for SLR Honda, and Michaela was riding the WMX motos on Friday, and they came out of the gate, and some chick just turned left right into KK, and she just got drilled. And if you watch it, it's one of the most epic saves I've ever seen. I mean, her feet were off the bike, over the back seat, left, right, and somehow she held onto it and rode out of it. You see her shaking her head like, "What the frick," you know? So that was pretty sick, dude. That chick's tougher than a $2 steak. Parker would have crashed. You know, he uh he would have crashed. I was messing with him. I go, "Dude, did you take some Vagisil this weekend? Or, you're supposed to take your Triactin, dude. What's your problem, bro?" So uh it was a wild weekend. I mean, God, Juju got weeded. We had 3 red flags. It was wild. That guy, God, what's his name? Bernard, I think it is, number 775 on AEO. Oh, I don't know. Did you see that crash? He had the dirtiest crash on that uphill triple. Oh, he endoed and just he got tomahawked right into the ground. He was snoring on the track for about a minute, and that was bad. I don't know how he's doing. And then some privateer guy crashed right after the finish, and I think I'm pretty sure he broke his femur from the way they had him on the gurney, and his leg was all kind of tweaked, and he was down for a while to get him up and get him going. So the day ran really long. I don't think it had anything to do with like the track prep. It was just kind of wild, but that track rutted up like crazy. If you look at, I know Mike Emery from Align posted a photo of Shimoda coming down one of the big downhills, and I looked at those ruts and I'm like, no, they come off. They're going down the hill at like a 45, and this is these every hill at Buds is steep, dude. And I was just like, dude, how do these guys do that shit? It was gnarly, dude. The track was really gnarly, but thank goodness the weather was good, and the racing, was what it was. I think the highlight was probably Jet's goon riding that last lap of the second 450 moto. That was pretty sick.
He was having fun out there, wasn't he, mate? You see the first moto, he's got the hand in the air over the whole shot line. So he was not often you get to sort of chill out with the championship locked up. He was having a blast and still got the win, mate.
Yeah, yeah. I got that on video. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty tight, dude." He's having fun, and in the last 450 moto, when he went over the finish line, he did like he did the endo on purpose, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, Ping's gonna see that and start having flashbacks and need to call his therapist, dude. It's gonna send him in a whole different dimension of, what the f." But yeah, it was funny. He was doing little butt whips. I think he was making fun of Hayden with Hayden's little butt whips when he scrubs over shit. So they're definitely uh, tossing shade at each other. It's getting interesting, is all I'll say, and it's going to be very fun at Paula. If I were you, I'd book a ticket and save your money and book a ticket and come over from Paula, dude. We'll make sure that you're taken care of, dude, because you're going to want to be there for that shit.
Oh, it's going to be epic, isn't it, mate? There's a little bit of chirping each way. Obviously, Deegan and Jed in the post race press conference there having some words, and it's going to be cool to see each other's putting a flex on. There's no love lost there, is there, mate? But it's all for Deegan to do in a lot of ways to beat Jed. It's going to be no mean feat, but he's definitely up for the challenge, mate. And it was a good, he put a statement on winning on the weekend too, Deegan, in that style to lock up the title, mate. So you had some good interviews with him. He had some choice words for you guys on your camera, mate. He wasn't holding back. So just your take on Deegan's weekend, mate. You got to love it.
He did exactly what I thought he would do. I was like, there's no way that kid is walking out of his 250 Pro Moto career and not going 1-1, which he did. He ended up second because of the points lead, but physically on the day, he just smashed everybody, dude. He wasn't playing, and he was ready to tell people what he thought. And apparently, I was the guy that he chose to to hey, film this. I'm like, oh shit, that was pretty good. Okay, well. So I think the first comment I put was a gif of a guy eating popcorn. I'm all, dude, people are gonna see this and just go ape shit, dude, and they did, dude. And you read through the comments and you're like, this is kind of entertaining, man. This is like, reading the National Enquirer. It's pretty damn funny. But yeah, the kid's feeling it, and he put a stamp in his pro moto career. He's got the MX Nations on the 250, and then it's big bikes. So he's got a huge step up, and like Brian said before, the Deegans know that in the 250 class, he's the man, right? But they also, and Brian's told me this, that he knows that going into the big bike class, that there's a bunch of the man. They're not stupid. They see what's coming and they're still going for it, which I like. I mean, that's the American way. Oh yeah, you don't like it? Watch this. We're gonna shove it up your ass, right? So. Uh, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I don't think there's any love lost there. They're not going to send each other Christmas cards of maybe a flaming bag of dog shit. That maybe send that, but yeah, there's not going to be flowers for Christmas or chocolates or anything. And if they are chocolates, I wouldn't eat them. But yeah, it was definitely interesting. But Shimoda rode great. He for a minute there, I thought he was going to catch Hayden, but just Hayden got down and took off. But I think the surprise with the weekend was Joe dropping the F bomb in the press conference. I was like, did he just play on that? And oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know my English. He could still pull that. Oh, I didn't know what that meant. Wink, wink. I was like, I got messages from people going, dude, I know you were in there, dude. Did he really say that? I'm like, dude, I wasn't in there actually. I was over at the truck. They were doing like the bike burnout and stuff, but I went back to the Pro Motocross YouTube and watched it to make sure it wasn't some AI thing. And I'm like, holy shit, he really did drop an F bomb in there, dude. Uh, Go Joe, dude. I told you, dude. Something happened to him at Lot B, dude.
Yeah.
Lot B may have ruined the boy. Maybe we need to stop pushing Lot B. We need to go back to Wasabi Joe. He needs to go back to Japan and like chill out a little bit. And, maybe we can ditch the mullet. Maybe we've swung the pendulum a little too far with Joe. He's dropped one season. He went to Lot B, and by the end of the season, he's dropping F bombs at the press conference. So I don't know. Maybe that ain't the best idea.
Oh, he's on fire though, isn't he? His riding's been excellent this outdoors season. The only one that's really had much for Deegan, him and Hymus, I guess, before he got injured. Hymus was in some serious form. But yeah, Joe's looking good, mate. Obviously, that weekend before, such a great ride at Unadilla, and it was cool to see his old man spraying the champagne with him as well, mate. But Joe's, he's a weapon on SMX too, so he should give Hayden a good battle. The last couple of times he's shown the speed and the class, and he's definitely maturing and he's like a legit threat to Hayden and SMX, do you think, mate? Even though Deegan is legit on that stuff too, but it's going to be a good battle between those two.
Yeah, I think SMX is going to be gnarly, dude, and it's Joe's last chance to really scrap with him until he gets up to the big boy class. And I don't think Joe wants to let Hayden sail off into the sunset with that perfect SMX record. And I know Hammaker, he's thirsty to get in there and scrap it up with him a little bit too. So I cannot wait for Charlotte. It's going to be a banger.
Oh yeah, mate, it's going to be good, mate. Just less than 2 weeks away now, and it was pretty cool. Obviously, Cole Davies the weekend at Unadilla didn't go how he wanted it, but he bounced back pretty impressively at Buds. Obviously, the second moto wasn't great, but the first one, getting that win, mate, how good was that? You must have been very impressed with the Kiwi, mate.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, he definitely had some Whitakers after that first moto, dude. He earned it, but I didn't have it in my bingo card that he was going to get his first win, which was kind of cool, which automatically seeded him into SMX. So it was the perfect storm for him, Joe and Hayden jumping with that red cross. I don't even quite know what the penalty was, nor do I really care at this point, but um, it ended up just automatically locking Cole in. So that was pretty sick. And then, the second moto, I think he was spent. He just doesn't have his gas tank there. I saw him after the race and talked to him for a minute, and you could tell he was ready for a nap. He was tired, dude. But you could also see that he wasn't happy not being up front with those boys. Even though it's the beginning of his pro motocross career, and I was like, well, it's going to be you and Joe and Seth and those guys next year. And I said, it's going to be interesting. And he just, how he has like, he's kind of low key, but he just kind of gave me a little Cheshire cat kind of smile. And I said, all right, I'll get out of here. Big dumb animal sitting here annoying you at the end of the day and you're tired. But I'm really stoked for him. And Juju, I don't know what he did. I don't know if he ran over a herd of black cats and then rear-ended a mirror truck or something and broke all the mirrors. That guy has had the worst luck this summer. I feel so bad for him. And, you know, what happened? Oh, Parker crashed right before he came around the mechanics area, and then he got up and he drove off, and he drove off like one of those snowbirds in Havasu pulls out in front of you, and then you end up getting ran off the road into a ditch out there. And Juju will know what I'm talking about that reference. You got to be careful when all the people come down from Canada. They drive 11 miles an hour down the freeway, and they'll pull out in front of everybody. They're dangerous as shit. So Parker was like a snowbird out there, and Juju comes around the corner at Mock Jesus, clips the rear end, and just gets weeded into the ground. And I mean, I know that Juju had like a 30-day headache from that last concussion, and he just was not feeling pretty good. And then to ring his bell again, dude, and I was surprised to see him standing outside the truck at the end of the day. And I went up and hey, you good? And he just kind of looked at me, and I'm like, you ain't feeling it, man. I'm gonna get out of here, But we did talk, but I'll just kind of keep that to myself. But you could tell he felt like he got hit by a truck. So, but it wasn't Parker's fault, Parker just ate crap, got up, his heartbeat was probably at 200 beats per minute, and flustered and frustrated and just trying to get going. And it was real rough right there. And just a racing incident. What do you do? But God, that sucked for Gigi, dude. I felt so bad for him. And I honestly hope he sits out SMX, dude. When you ring your melon that hard, come back, and then you have a wreck like that at the last round, it's like, dude, just you don't need to do SMX. Go lay on the boat and chill, take some time off and let your brain heal, because if you don't get that right, you're going to be screwed. I mean, if you look at Ron Tishner now, after all the times he's racked his head, dude, I'd sit out until Anaheim won if I were him, and I wouldn't fault him. And God, the way the internet's chirping right now, who knows what people would say, but how could you fault the guy who rang his bell that bad and then racked himself that hard at the last round? Just go heal up, bro.
Yeah, he's been through it, mate. Yeah, wish him all the best, and yeah, probably best to sit it out, like you said, mate, because it's the long term's more important than just getting back, rushing back from an injury like that. So we'll see how he goes, mate. But yeah, super talented rider, super fast, serious title threat for sure in Supercross. And any other 250 guys you'd like to touch on? Obviously, Kitchen filling out the podium, Marchbanks and Thrasher, Masterpool, Drew Adams getting eighth, Ryder Dean, Dylan Schwartz getting the top 10 there, mate, 13-9. A Weapon Outdoors, another one of those Bar X Yamaha guys that's been putting their names out there, hasn't they?
Yeah, yeah. Both Bar X boys made it into the SMX directly in. They don't need to qualify. Parker ended up 17th, and Dylan got 20th. So good on them, dude. I mean, that's probably the feel good story of the summer. Those guys getting that. I mean, guaranteed a paycheck. At a minimum. Which is pretty sick. What is the bottom paycheck? I think is $15,000, dude. For a 20-year-old kid, dude, that's some sick money just to throw in for 3 races, and I'm sure they'll do better than that. But yeah, super happy for those two about that, and felt bad for Lux. I don't think Lux made it in, but he may, because I think there's a couple guys that are injured that aren't going to be able to rack them up. So Lux still may get seeded into that top 20. Of course, RJ's not in that contention, and I think there's a couple guys hurt or out. So Lux may squeak in because I think he missed it by a position or two. But that one bummed me out. I really wanted Lux to make it in there, but shit happens.
Yeah, mate, it's a lot of good dudes. Stacked that 250 class, mostly factory dudes in the top 20. It's crazy, mate. So good on the Bar X lads for putting it in there for sure, mate. And they've had their issues throughout the season. So yeah, getting in there is no mean feat. But as we talk 450s, mate, obviously we've touched on Jet Lawrence and what he did, mate. Another great performance. I think he's only lost like 3 outdoors 450 races. So still crazy, mate. He's been having a few interesting rounds in the last month, mate. But yeah, he's still got all the class. But I guess we got to touch on the Prado situation. You were there, mate. The 43rd qualifying got in because of the seeding. Would have been bizarre if he had to do the LCQ. Who knows what would have happened there, mate? But it's yeah, definitely not coming together. But he still showed that he has those starts, doesn't he, mate? They're still dialed. He hasn't lost them, but it's definitely the relationship seems pretty broken there. Who knows if he comes out for SMX? That Unadilla one was a big blow to him. Definitely not how he wanted to. But despite all the bad stuff, he still got sixth in the standings, mate. So the fans have a lot of interesting opinions on him. They're not really resonating with him there stateside with some of the comments and the actions. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out, won't it?
Yeah, he went from the guy that everybody was so stoked to have here. Every American wanted Prado and blah blah blah, and he's getting flamed really hard in his own comments, which is kind of understandable, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of cultural things that we as Americans, I've spent a lot of time, and I'm not talking taking a trip on vacation. I've spent a lot of time in other countries working around the world and longer durations, right? So you get around different cultures, and it takes you a minute to see as an American, our knee jerk is, you fucking pussies, and the world just works different than the way we do in America. And I see some of it, maybe some of it is he's being a little pretentious. And some other things is I think he's just being straight up honest and real. And, hey, if you don't feel good on the bike, you don't feel good on the bike. Everybody here is expecting him to say, oh, well, it's on me. Well, bro, if you don't feel like it's on you, then why would you say it's on you? I mean, if he honestly doesn't feel it's not on him, then don't say shit that you don't feel is true, right? So, there, I think there's a cultural thing there that isn't jiving with the American fans, and I think there's some other things with Prado. He's probably used to everything going his way, and it's not. It's probably frustrating for him, and you got to remember these guys are still young dudes. They're in their 20s, right? I know at 20 years old, I was dumber than a box of rocks. I mean, I'm almost 50 and I'm still shit all stupid, but I know how to handle situations and tough, stressful situations a hell of a lot more than I did in my 20s. And I didn't have millions of dollars on the line or all the media in the world look at me and on that level of stuff, you know what I'm saying? But put yourself in his shoes at 20 something years old and having to deal with all that pressure and all this shit, how would you handle it? So before you start throwing stones at people, you know, put yourself in their shoes. So could he have done some things better? Yeah, probably. But, do I respect him sticking to his guns? If he didn't think he did anything wrong, well, then he doesn't think he did anything wrong. And you kind of got to respect that. So, is the relationship done? Yeah. I think they're pretty well over. I don't think he's going to go by the Irvine office at all during the week. Probably staying out of there. And does he line up for SMX? Don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do it. I mean, what's the point at this point? What if something happened to him? What if he got in a wreck or something, at that point you kind of just got to say it's an ugly divorce, right? Probably better just to you go your way and I'll go my way, and hey, nice knowing you. I to me personally, I think that's what's going to happen. Just from a business standpoint, I think I'd kind of, if I was on Kawasaki's side, I'd just pull the plug and bench him. Just, hey, we're not going to go. Let's save our money and just reset and get ready for Chase and whoever else is going to come over for 2026. But from a business standpoint, if I was on the Kawasaki side of things, I would yank the plug right now. As soon as the motos were over, here's your check. I'll see you later, bud. Thanks.
Well said, mate. I think it's run the race, that relationship. I don't think there's really any coming back. So what you said there is pretty well spot on, mate. And obviously give us your take on Tomac. Obviously, season as a whole, definitely not what he wanted, but I believe that's the first time no wins outdoors for Eli in his motocross career. So no
Yeah.
overalls for Yamaha either, which wasn't too great, even though Jay Coop and Tomac were doing really well in various races. But yeah, Tomac had a weird one there, got stuck behind the Aussie Webster for a while there. And that's been an issue he's had all season. Sometimes getting stuck behind blokes when the Lawrence brothers just get those starts and they just build too much of a gap by the time Tomac makes his move. But it's always great having Tomac out there, isn't it, mate? Another guy that's changing teams. So watch for him in SMX2 will be a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, time is the undefeated champion, right? And so who knows? Tomac could easily make us all look like a bunch of paste eating morons and come back next year and just like, holy shit, the old man's got it, you know? But, smart money says that it's probably time to go do World Supercross and stuff like that and do Supercross. And I think at his age, it's probably more feasible for him to be extremely competitive in World Supercross and AMA Supercross than it is the Outdoor Nationals. I mean, it that shit's gnarly, dude. Everybody says Supercross is harder, and but you go talk to a lot of these riders, and they're like, dude, Moto's way gnarlier. Just the amount of time and the little recovery you have in there. Supercross starts at 8 in the morning, and they ride for 15, 20 minutes, and then they have another qualifying. But they got a lot of time to recover during Supercross, and so I think that would probably help in a guy who's older for him to recover. In motocross, you got an hour. You go out and ride twice in the morning, and then you do the gnarly moto at the highest intensity for 35 minutes straight, and you got 1 hour to go rehydrate, rest, take a shower, download with the team. You probably really get about 5 or 6 minutes of nobody bugging you, and then it's line back up and do it again. And so that's my thoughts on it. Is he's probably I'd be surprised if we saw him race outdoor nationals next year. But Supercross, he's got I think he's got plenty of fuel in the tank. It's cooler weather. It's more conducive to a guy who's older. I think he's still got everything in the tank to be super competitive in Supercross. I don't think San Diego was his last win. I really don't.
Yeah, he's so good. Such a great rider in all facets, mate. But yeah, watching how his career looks in the future will be an interesting one to watch, mate. And his teammate, Jay Coop, got a podium there heading into SMX as the top point seed. He's kind of like survived the season, mate. I think it's only him and Mookie that have got through all the rounds so far. He was battling with Jet there. So Jay Coop, bit of positivity to head into SMX, mate. Great rider, great season. He's probably feeling it, mate, the strain. It's been a long one for him, but watch for him as well to slot in there, be a podium threat in SMX too.
Yeah, he's the silent assassin, right? He doesn't talk a lot. I mean, he says hi and smiles, and you're like, cool. Jacob smiled and said hello. He just sticks to himself, and he runs a tight ship, and he's no drama, just a cool cat. I'm stoked for him. But I'll tell you what, I can't do any kind of motocross, supercross gambling. None of us in the paddock can. It's all part of the deal when you get a credential, right? I forget how they put it, but it's just a no. A lot of sports, if you're part of Major League Baseball or NFL, or you can't bet on NFL games, football. None of us can, anything to do with the sport, which is fine. I don't care. I don't do sports betting anyway. But could you imagine if you would have went to sports betting and you put on there that Malcolm Stewart was going to do every outdoor national in 2025 and be one of the only guys to do it? Because the odds on it were that Malcolm was not going to do a full outdoor season. So just got to put some respect on Malcolm's name, that the man came out there with his wild hair and all and did the whole 2025 outdoor national series. And what did he end up, like seventh overall in the season or something? He ended up pretty respectable, didn't he? But just we got to put some respect on old Malcolm. The old man went out there and got it done. So everybody who gave him shit about his 10-year hiatus from motocross, the old man came out and he put in his dues, dude. So respect on Malcolm, and I hope you're getting some fishing in today, bud.
Oh, absolutely, mate. He sure will be. Having a weekend off, you'll be relishing it, even though those dudes will be straight to work on SMX prep, which coming on to that, mate, how excited are you for it? It's going to be a cool little reset, something different, another championship to chase for these dudes. And obviously in the 450 class, on top of having, Roxon, Sexton, Webb back, just the action's going to be good. The fight to see who can beat the Lawrence brothers, really, because they both proven how good they are in that. And then 250s, Deegan and Shimoda will be battle royale stuff, mate. So what are you going to have your eyes on at SMX?
Everything, dude. It's gonna be sick, dude. I really like the SMX rounds. It's cool. I wish one of the rounds. I haven't looked at the track maps, so maybe I'm sticking my foot in my mouth, but I wish they would include whoops in one of the races, even if it was like five or something. Just throw five huge monster whoops in there and just really screwball them, and then don't tell them until they get there and let them do track walk and go, oh shit, we got to do whoops. Watch the suspension techs all pounding Adderall trying to. Get straightened out, dude. But suspension techs probably wouldn't be very happy with anybody. But um, that whole series is fun, dude. I had an absolute blast doing it last year, and except for Texas Motor Speedway, that sucked because it felt like you were in an oven all day on concrete. That one went over like a fart in church, but otherwise, but as a whole, the whole system and the double triple points and the money for the guys and just the unique racing and where they do the races. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I'm stoked on it. I think they hit a home run, and the last 2 years have been great, and I just don't see how you can't have a close finish every time the way the points go out. I mean, the odds are that somebody's going to have a bobble and screw up, and it's just going to throw everything haywire, and those triple points kind of guarantee that it's going to throw everything haywire. So yeah, it definitely reinvigorates me because when I drove out of Bud's the other night, I'm like, yep, I'm glad Pro Moto's done. It was a great season, but boy, it was a long one. It was hot, and you could just tell everybody was tired, right? And ready to take a break. I'm an idiot, and I'm not taking a break, but yeah, I'll be definitely invigorated when I get back to the States. Head over to the Carolinas and go do some gnarly shit. And then when I'm done, I get to go over and I finally get to go to club. Oh, I can't wait for that.
Oh, that'd be awesome, mate. That'd be really cool. It was really crap to see Cody Shock having that issue, missed out on the top 20, mate. Obviously had that massive crash, then went through the banners, mate. So no luck for him at a track that he's great at, Buds too. So sending him all the best. Not too fun going through the LCQs, but he should be right getting in, no doubt.
Yeah, who was it? Harrison blew
Hmm.
his motor up. So if you look on paper, it says he was 8 points behind, but Harrison went out, so it was really 1 point. He missed it by one freaking point, and his mechanic, oh man, his mechanic was bent, dude, and I felt for him, but I said, "Hey, dude, look at the brights." I was messing with Cody when he walked in on Saturday morning. I go, "Dude, that was gnarly when you went through the fence at Bud's Creek or at Unadilla." And he goes, "God damn, man, talk about something positive." And I go, "Well, you didn't get hurt. And you got up and rode off." And he kind of laughed. He goes, "That's true. Okay, there you go." And then he had another rough one. So I told his mechanic, I go, "Well, look at it this way. The one positive thing about doing the LCQs is you get time on the track that the other guys won't.
Yep.
It's going to suck for his mechanic, but his mechanic's getting a little tubby, so he could use a little extra wrenching and an extra bike wash a weekend, knock a few of them pounds off. You know what I'm saying? But oh, he's going to kill me when he hears that. But that's probably the only thing I could think of that's a positive because these SMX rounds still they've only got 2 years of doing them, and they still don't have it dialed as far as hit and miss suspension. Jet and them came out and were like, "What the f?" And they bombed that first one, and so having some more time that LCQ or that qualifying race to get in could make a huge difference for those guys if you just if you get lemons, make some lemonade, right? And I think Club's pretty good about doing that.
Yeah, great outfit there for sure, mate. And as we sort of get towards the end, mate, any final thoughts from motocross? What's happening with Whiskey Throttle, mate? Obviously, heaps of content coming out. You, Ping, and the crew are all producing heaps. Ethan as well, mate. So it's all happening, mate. What's on the cards before SMX? Obviously, you're working away, but there'll still be plenty happening, no doubt, on the whiskey side.
Yeah, one thing we didn't really tap on too hard is I thought the WMX was awesome this year. I liked seeing the girls out there. The gate was a little thin at Bud's, thinner than I thought it would be, but every other round was it was really packed, dude. And I wasn't there on Friday, so maybe there was a lot of people. But the last one on Saturday was the makeup round from Thunder Valley, and maybe some of the girls were like, "Well, I'm out of it. You know why? I don't want to go in." But I thought the girls, the top four girls ran really good, and I don't know if Mela Herrick's going to make it into WMX on a big bike next year, but after watching her race the Super Mini at the SMX round in Houston last year, that chick's a ripper, dude. She hit the big finish line jump before the dudes did, and I was like, holy shit, who's this chick, dude? She's like 100 pounds, wet and wearing boots, and she's over here hucking it. I'm like, you guys are a bunch of pussies, dude. Look what she just did. Get your ass out there and pin it, son. So when she gets in there, it's going to be sick. Racing Kyler, when she gets a little bit older, she's going to be in there. And Lala and them aren't that old. I think they'll still be around if Lala hasn't moved up to really racing the guys, which I see happening. Michaela's killing it. Kylie Stallings, she's like the Mike Alessi of women's motocross. She's pretty much guaranteed a whole shot. In fact, I about fell over when KK got the whole shot on her in that moto. I was like, no way, she just got the whole shot on Kylie. That chick's just, you could almost set a clock to her getting a whole shot. She's a ripper. Jordan Jarvis, she's a ripper. I just think it's cool. I hope that they really lean into it. I'd like to see it all 12 rounds. I'd like to see it on Saturday during the intermission between the 450 and 250. Even if we made the day a half hour, 45 minutes longer, give a little bit of a break and then run the WMX in the middle. They'd give the 450, 250 second motos a little bit more time to recover. I think it'd be awesome, dude. I'd like to see all 12 rounds have the WMX, and it was cool, dude. And you look at the way Lala rides that bike, you're like, dude, that chick's a savage, dude, a savage. And if you're at home listening to this and like, oh, I'd smoke her, that girl will whoop your ass. I will put my money on Lala Turner on probably 95% of the dudes in this country, including a lot of dudes who are racing professional motocross, dude. That chick's fast as shit, dude. She's a savage and she wants some. And I keep needling Lux. I'm like, dude, let's do a moto, dude. Let's do a moto with you and your sister, dude. And he's just looking at me like, I'm gonna hit you, dude. Shut up. But I think his slowest lap time was her best lap time at Dilla, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, they're that close,
Mm.
brother and sister. She's that good, and I think she's only going to get better. So, um, got to put some respect on the WMX. I thought that was pretty rad and good on MX Sports and everybody for including it. And I really hope they think and go, maybe we should do a WMX Supercross some round. Do two or three, one, two or three WMX Supercross and let the ladies get some experience doing Supercross. The weekends that they don't do the SMX next, do a women's Supercross. I think that'd be super cool. Imagine seeing some chicks out there getting down on Supercross. That's gnarly. I'm like, man, I really feel like a pussy now. Shit, I ain't even going down the track walk. Yeah, but yeah, that's just kind of my last thoughts on Whiskey Throttle. Yeah, we got a lot going on. I'm going to take a long break between the end of SMX and Paris Supercross. Paris Supercross will be our last event of the year, but Ethan can get all of the track days he wants, and of course we're going to push him. We'll still be putting out content, but I'm going to clean my camera. I'm going to put it in the case, and I don't want to see a dirt bike for a while. I just want to chill out, and if you kind of lose the fire. So I want to come into Anaheim just up at 3 a.m. hopping up and down like, yeah, it's race day. I don't want to get up and go, ah, shit, another race. I don't ever want to get to that point. So I'm gonna reset the clock and let the kids have fun out at the test track. So that's kind of where we're at.
That's awesome. There's plenty to still enjoy in the world of moto, but yeah, that's Supercross ticked off for you. Motocross down SMX is next on the calendar, mate. So you're doing a great job, you and the crew crushing it. And obviously, as we wrap this one up, big thanks to all the listeners and readers of the website for supporting it all. Really appreciate it. And also big thanks to the sponsors in Fly Racing, Firepower, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkerland for all their incredible support. As without them, none of this be possible. All right, Jeff, thanks again, mate. Been another ripper chat, and we look forward to catching up after the first SMX. Should be box office.
Yeah, buddy. We'll see you then.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.